Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the September 2020 monthly overview video. Straight up, I'm a little bit nervous about presenting the astrology of September. We're definitely getting into some of the crunchier territory, astrologically speaking. Just when you thought 2020, when you thought it was safe to get back into the water, as they used to say. September does bring a few extra challenges to deal with, but that being said, we've had a lot of Mars-Saturn energy already this year. And so now I think this month we're just starting the next leg of the marathon. So it's almost like since about mid-August, Mars really started to slow down. And it's almost like, okay, I've got to hand the baton on, okay, like a relay race. And so now it's almost like we're running this next leg, that last, 100 meters, 400 meters, whatever the length is, the next sort of 3 to 4 months of 2020. So there is this feel to it, like when you could almost see the end, but there's a lot of work to be done or a lot to get through. So we're definitely in the thick of this, one of the signature aspects of 2020, which for me was, one of them was the Jupiter-Pluto conjunctions, and then of course the Mars retrograde in Aries. Now I have done a special configurations video, which I've released, and I'll also include in the folder, if you're not on social media, where I've really tried to detail and outline the Mars retrograde and a bit to do with the squares to Saturn. So do check in with that if you've not already seen it, and that will sort of help guide you. There's also a blog post on my website around Mars and Saturn too. So, but of course we'll talk about Mars a lot in the next few months for sure. So September, let's narrow in our focus for the next 30 days. So like all months, there will be some peaks and there will be some troughs. And, so we've got sort of some highs and lows, ups and downs, because there is some heavy and confronting energy as, the cosmos is grinding gears, the sky is grinding its gears. And that's to me how it feels. It's like, oh, that's really doesn't sound good. It's uncomfortable, etc., etc. There are some wins to be had. So I don't really feel that everything is doom and gloom. And of course, there's just so many, that's probably why I felt a little bit nervous about presenting this material, is because like all aspects in astrology, and when I say aspects, I don't necessarily mean just like squares or trines or what have you, but all features of astrology, there's the overarching signification of things, and then how is that pertaining to you as an individual as per your birth chart, what's sort of in that, what we would describe as natal promise, what's happening to your timing, your progressions, your profections and different timing tools. And then of course we've got the moving sky and how is that interacting with the now. So there's going to be so much more to say and to share, not only with this month, but with Mars retrograde also. So if you are on Facebook, I've really made an attempt to try and be a little bit more active on there. I'm not a fan of Facebook, to be honest, but it's a great place to share, to connect with the other Golden Circle Club members, and to, share our experiences and to help us learn, because that's really how anyone can learn what Saturn means. Anyone can learn what Mars means, but it's being able to apply these principles to different experiences is what really broadens our awareness of how we can align with the sky and lead that divinely inspired life, which is the whole purpose of me being for you. Okay, so let's start with a couple of wins. Okay, as August ends and we move into September, of course, we've got Mercury in Virgo. Now, Mercury is only in Virgo through until the first week of September. So Australian time, Mercury will move into Libra on Sunday the 6th. And of course, that's the day before the 5th, Saturday in the US and Canada. So we've got that kind of, first few days when Mercury is not only in its domicile, but also in its exaltation. Technically speaking, you don't get better than that as far as planets, and their functionality. What I also really love as we get into the crossover, as the months cross over, is I'm just going to share my screen with you. Something I try and do more, although I do sometimes forget about it because I'm just more focused on, telling you all the things. So I apologize. My Zoom video is super laggy today for some reason. So hopefully this will come up in just a minute. But yeah, when it does, oh, there it goes. Okay, so Mercury in Virgo. So what you might notice here is now that Mercury has, it feels like forever ago now, completed the retrograde in Cancer, it's now in Virgo and it's moving back up to a decent pace. And so what's happening in the present moment is that Mercury, so I've just got this timed chart here for the 1st of September, Brisbane time, and you're just using that Aries rising chart. So if I just back this back a little bit, let's just back it back a couple of hours, what we will see is that we've got the sun is under the descendant. Okay, so technically we're entering in nighttime territory and Mercury is above the descendant. So that descendant there is symbolic of the western horizon. And so what we see here is Mercury emerging from the beams. So we can see the sun is 9, Mercury is 22. So the distance between the sun and Mercury is increasing. This means that this is one of the rare times, or I shouldn't say rare because it happens often, but one of the brief times that we actually get to see Mercury. We only ever get to see Mercury as either an evening star around sunset or a morning star. And at the moment, Mercury is in its evening star phase. So if you look to the western horizon in the evenings now, you may be able to catch that little glimpse of that trickster planet Mercury. So what this means is, so we've got Mercury super strong and away from the beams of the sun. So Hellenistically, we would call this making an appearance. And so this sort of symbolizes that, one of the wins as we begin the month is that Mercury is not being swallowed up or burned up by the rays of the sun. It's got some news to share, some things to impart. It may be about, a new awareness or things to do with Mercury ruled things such as money, logistics, paperwork. You're waiting on news for something, or you're waiting to hear about whether you can, reopen, if it's a COVID situation, and if you're in lockdown, there may be some news around what you can expect. So when it comes to Mercury, especially in the early part of September, it can be very helpful to really hone in on the Virgo part of your birth chart. And that may give you a little bit of insight in how the month may play out. And I think Mercury is a bit of I couldn't really call it a key feature of September because it's so much, but I do love this as a little bit of a win for the month. So that being said, I'll just clear the screen now. So I've just got this laggy Zoom. So apologies for me zoning out there. So, and also too, as September begins, what you can also see is that Mercury is starting to separate, or has already separated from Neptune. So things that might have been a little bit unsure, confusing, you didn't really know about as the month of August ended, will start to become more clear and obvious for you as September rolls on. And of course, we'll get more deeper into Mercury's aspects in the weekly videos, but just wanted to connect and highlight how, this is very good for Mercury things. Okie dokes. What else do we have in the month of September? I just feel like there is just so much to say. Of course, we have Mercury will continue on, and then it's going to move signs and go into Libra. Okay, so I'm just going to move these hours back a little bit so we can, oops, wrong way. All right, so yeah, Mercury's now in Libra. And so that's going to change the shift and tone around communications. And so when Mercury was forming those trines to the Capricorn stuff, it's now going to be moving into the square. But because Mercury's moving so fast, it's then going to move into Scorpio on the 27th. Of the month, so right towards the end, and that will be across the board through all time zones. So Mercury is on the move. It covers 3 signs this month, and that will be a stark contrast to where Mercury's recently been. We also have Venus is on the move this month too. I think these are really quite welcoming shifts after, we've had Mercury and Venus have been sort of stuck and stagnant for quite some time. So Venus, she moves into Leo on the 5th and 6th on the same weekend. So there's a lot of action on the first week of the month. Of course, we've got a lunation there as well. Now, I guess the astrology we've all been waiting for is that station of Mars. And so that happens, in Solarfire, which is the software that I use. You can see that that S there is meaning the station. Okay, so Mars is really starting to slow right down now, and it will eventually station retrograde. Now, it's not like Mars is a little bit of this more of slower planets. So it's not like it's a boom, boom, boom thing. It sort of happens over the course of a couple of days. Mars slows down, it turns around, and then starts to retrograde from our perspective. And so this second week of September is where that energy really heats up. At the same time, interestingly, we've got a bit of support from the Sun and Jupiter. So there might be a little bit of, okay, there's going to be a delay or an obstacle or something frustrating, but it might be for a higher meaning or a higher purpose, or you might see the reason for this blockage or delay. All right, so then at the second week, we also see Jupiter station direct. So there's a lot of planets kind of changing directions, changing sign. There's a lot of activity this month. So Jupiter changing signs, changing direction. I guess one, relieving part of this is that, it is, sooner it stations direct, the more soon it starts to move out of Capricorn. I am so over Capricorn. I don't know how you all feel about the transits of a Capricorn right now, but it's like just when you think it's over, right? So Jupiter in Capricorn. So what we might see shift in this capacity is stuff to do around COVID and group things, group gatherings, things to do with travel, with education, and the ways that we like to expand our faith, our hope, the sense of life that gives us meaning and purpose may intensify and shift and start to move forward again. Now, Jupiter is in Capricorn. It's not going to get better anytime soon, unfortunately. But what we are going to see maybe is maybe a little bit of a path forward. It may not be the path we like or the path that we want, but there may be a path forward. And we also have another lunation this week. So on the 17th across the board, we then have the new moon in Virgo. So now we're returning. So we will excuse me, we will have that gathering sometime around there. I will launch that date for you very soon. But that new moon in Virgo is there on the 17th. Of course, we'll flesh that out in the weekly video. So we're returning to that Virgo space. So it's almost like we have the early month iteration of Virgo, Mercury in Virgo, then we have the new moon. So that now we are really sort of shifting away from that Leo lunation and into the Virgo space of our birth charts. Okay, and then I guess I'm just going to fast forward this a little bit. The 28th, we're going to have Saturn station direct. So the two big planets of growth and groundedness, of opportunity and responsibility, both start to become on the move again. Okay, so this is maybe going to be a significant yet background tempo shift or change. It can take a little while. You know, Saturn and Jupiter are the greater malefic and the greater benefic. So they're starting to change direction. They're changing their gears. And it can take a little while for that to kind of transmute or radiate down here back on Earth. But you might start to feel internally, perhaps, what you may personally have to shift or change or adjust around. And that will be just in time, of course, when Mars and Saturn, therefore make that second square. So that's going to be perhaps revisiting or getting another iteration of some of the first Mars-Saturn square energy that happened at the end of August. So around August 24, the first one perfected, August 25. So there is this sense with September and a bit of that crossover of August, that how the month of August ends and leads into September will get tied up or have to be revisited as the month of September ends. But because Mars will stay retrograde, it's almost like, even though there may be a solution or an outcome to the problem, it may take a while to fix, or it may take a while to get, the all clear, or there may have to be more effort required with something. All right, so that is a little bit of a overview for the month of September. So of course, not all of it by all stretch of the imagination, but there is a sense of honing in focus with a lot of Virgo energy and with the Mars Saturn stuff, and that sort of shift and change in the background that may take a little while to permeate and to filter down into our collective and of course our individual lives as well. All right, I think that's what I want to say for this month. I'm a bit nervous about it, as I mentioned. So much going on. Mars retrogrades do happen every 2 years, so they're not new, okay? We haven't experienced together as a part of the Golden Circle a Mars retrograde before. So we will talk about it a lot. We will talk about it on Facebook a lot, and no doubt in our new moon gathering in that sort of mid-week or sort of middle of the month. We'll get together and do that then. So I will look forward to catching you in the next video. And until then, I'm just going to say goodbye for now.